pregnant pit bull puts off giving birth until a miracle occurs. A pit bull refused to give birth. After the ultrasound was done by the vet thought that what she saw had been a mistake. Read on to see what happened. Nearly all animal shelters or rescues find themselves overwhelmed with the need for space. Unfortunately, even if they want to save all the animals, there are just not enough resources to care for them all. When Chris and Marisa entered the Pibbles and More Animal Rescue, they were shocked to realize that the vast majority of the dogs in this shelter were pit bulls. It was shocking how many of the spaces were filled with friendly pit faces. What they didn't realize was that one was about to change their lives. This happy couple had one particular passion in common, their love of animals. As avid fans of pit bulls, Marisa and Chris had rescued a number of the breed already. In fact, they already had 10 bouncy dogs in their lives to keep things interesting. When they thought about it, though, it seemed like they needed to do more for the breed that was so misunderstood. Even though they had a lot of experience with dogs, the couple had never seen anything like they saw when they visited the animal shelter that fateful day. Pit bulls have a bad reputation thanks to great misunderstandings. The dog breed is sturdy and muscular with a large head, but this is no indication of their risk factor. They can be very loving and loyal dogs. However, many states have made it illegal to own a pit bull, and they are one of the most common breeds to end up in animal shelters. Since Chris and Marisa are aware of the misunderstanding, they've adopted a number of pits, but have never had an issue with violence from the dogs. They wanted to help even more of these beautiful dogs find a home, but little did they know that a surprise was in store. The couple wandered through the shelter trying to find the perfect dog to take home. Marisa had promised that they would only take one dog home, but considering that she loved dogs so much, the decision was going to be agonizing. She looked at all those pleading faces with a sinking feeling in her stomach. She wished that she could adopt all of them, but she wondered which one to take. And then she spotted the dog she knew was right for them. The dog that shuffled toward them to lick the couple's hands was very, very pregnant. Her belly was swollen with puppies, but she looked up at Marisa's face and practically begged to be taken home. She was obviously in need of a loving place to give birth. Marisa knew instantly that this was the dog for her, but when they went to claim her, something happened that made them wonder if it was truly the right choice. The heavily pregnant pit bull's story was sadder than most, and it made Marisa want to cry. The couple learned that the dog, named Story, had belonged to a backyard breeder. She'd been brought into the shelter and surrendered once the breeder realized there was no way they could afford to look after the dog and the puppies that were on the way. Marisa and Chris knew they had to take this dog home and give her the comfort and love she needed, as well as a place to give birth. But when the vet started to explain Story's history, they were shocked. The rescue staff explained that Story was meant to give birth already. No one knew why the sad pit bull hadn't given birth yet, though she looked ready to pop at any moment. Surely, Story could not have been feeling very comfortable physically. It was a precarious situation, and the dog-loving couple realized that Story was in serious trouble. They needed to make a choice that would have far-reaching consequences, and it had to be now. Despite the fact that bringing Story home would make their doggy family even bigger, resulting in 17 dogs, Marisa refused to leave Story at the shelter. She was determined to help the beautiful dog and make sure she had a safe place to have her babies. Then Chris came up with a unique idea. Why not foster Story and her puppies, and the animal rescue could continue to search for homes for all of them? That was the perfect solution, but there was still a problem. What was wrong with Story? Why wasn't she birthing the puppies in her swollen belly? The couple had never seen such a problem in any of the dogs they looked after. Why was Story holding off on having the puppies? Was there something they could do, or was it a physical problem that needed to be treated? They were worried as they started to do some online research to figure out what was going on with their new family member. What they found was terrifying and made them even more worried about Story. In general, most animals are far more intelligent than we give them credit for. When the couple was researching why the dog might be resisting giving birth, they came across a particular article that explained something that made sense. The article explained that animals go through a lot of trauma and stress when they're put into rescue shelters. A pregnant dog is at even higher risk. While we know that the shelter is designed to help the dog, it is something that the dog doesn't necessarily understand. Mariella and Chris continued to do research and realized that the situation was worse than they'd anticipated. Story was in danger of losing every one of her puppies if she didn't have them soon, but something else startled Marisa. Pregnant dogs in a traumatic situation worry for their babies and will actually refuse to give birth in cases where they feel the puppy would be in danger. It's a dangerous situation for both the mother and the pups. The couple knew that they had to get Story to a vet, and fast. It was a life and death matter. When the vet started the ultrasound, she couldn't believe what she was seeing. She shook her head, shocked at what was on the screen. The vet thought that surely it must be a mistake. But the shapes were very clear, little white outlines that represented some news that she was going to have to break to the dog's parents waiting anxiously. She turned to them and Marisa felt her heart drop. What was going on with their new dog? The vet was in shock. She counted again, then once more, still unbelieving of what the screen told her. Then she explained to the anxious couple that Story wasn't carrying 6 puppies, but quite a few more. The brave dog was in fact carrying 20. The couple stared at each other and at the vet in shock. Taken aback by the sheer number of puppies, the couple then wondered what this meant for Story. Would she be okay? The vet called an ambulance but couldn't reach them, then called the police who helped them get the dog to the clinic. At the clinic, the vet wasn't sure why the puppies hadn't been born yet, but the ultrasound showed that the puppies were alive and well. She told them to go home and get ready for the imminent birth. The vet informed the couple that if Story didn't have the puppies within the next 48 hours, they needed to bring her back in for further examination. They didn't realize that Story was in fact a clever dog and that she was waiting for a very good reason. The couple was stressed out as they headed home. Story could lose her babies, and not just 6, but double that number. They were anxious about the next 48 hours. What if she didn't deliver the puppies? The situation could potentially be very dangerous, and they both felt bad for the pregnant Pitbull. But what could they do? As they headed home, the couple was brainstorming, and eventually, Marisa came up with an idea. The couple had read enough about trauma and stress that they knew it was severely affecting Story. To combat this, they decided to create the most comforting environment they could. Marisa made space in a bedroom and put down pillows, blankets, and everything needed to make the space comforting. Then they left Story in her new safe haven, hoping she would feel safer by morning. They didn't have a clue that a miracle was about to occur in their home. When the couple woke up after a restful night's sleep, they went to check on their newest addition, hoping she was feeling a bit more comfortable. They hoped that their plan worked in helping Story to feel more at home. What they found was nothing short of a miracle. Story was happily nursing 20 beautiful little puppies. She'd given birth to her babies during the night, and now it was obvious why she'd waited so long. When dogs give birth in a shelter, it's stressful for both the mother and the puppies. Somehow, Story had realized that it wasn't the best environment and waited for Chris and Marisa. She'd somehow known that they would come to bring her home and give her a safe place to have her babies. As soon as she was in the right environment, she let her body do what it needed to do. The result was there in living, wriggling proof in the middle of her blanket nest. It had taken less than 24 hours in her new home for Story to bring her puppies into the world. It was a miracle since no one had been sure why she wasn't giving birth, or if it would even happen on its own. But the Pitbull had known exactly what she needed most, and that was to feel protected and secure. Thanks to the adoptive couple, she'd felt safe at last, and promptly given birth to her 20 amazing puppies, all thrilled to be in the world. Within a couple of weeks, the puppies' eyes had opened, and Marisa and Chris were thoroughly enjoying the little pack of adorable babies. The puppies charged around the yard and played together as only puppies can do. Story was thrilled and appeared to be very happy with her babies. She looked after them like the best dog mom in the world. However, it wasn't long before adoption requests started coming in from the rescue center. After all, the situation was never meant to be a permanent one. By the time the puppies were 10 weeks old, they were all spoken for. The couple loved the tiny bundles of joy, but there were too many of them for them to look after effectively, so they decided to put them up for adoption. It was a difficult choice, but the right one. After 10 weeks, the puppies headed out to brand new homes. But what about their mother? The puppies were doing well, but where would she end up? Story's story was published on Facebook, and it didn't take long for a man to read it and fall in love with the dog. He promptly called the couple to see if he could meet the dog, and when he did, he felt an incredible bond with her, and he immediately decided he wanted her. Story went home to her forever home as well. She was spayed to avoid further massive pregnancies. She will never have to deal with the stress of giving birth to 20 puppies in an unfamiliar environment again. All 20 puppies are now thriving in their new homes, and are doing very well. They're all greatly loved. Story stayed with her foster family until each and every one of her babies was adopted out, just like a good mama would. Without the couple that had dared to take a chance on the poor pregnant dog, she could have lost her babies. Even worse, she could have lost her babies as well as her own life. While Story's tale has a happy ending, there are many other dogs that suffer without ever seeing the love they could have in a happy home. Shelters always need help caring for these animals, so even if you can't take in a dog, you might be able to help them out. Fostering is often an option. If you can't foster, try donating or helping people learn more about shelters by spreading the word about rescue homes and the amazing people who work there with the beautiful animals in need of hope. Next up, read about why this woman's dog didn't stop barking at her pregnant belly. You might have heard from pet owners, if you aren't one yourself, that our little furry friends can recognize a lot of things we humans don't even notice. Whether it be a dog or a cat or any other animal, they seem to have something similar to a sixth sense to pick up the slightest change in vibes and energy. This is how sometimes they tell us of things we don't even see coming. And this is exactly how little Keola saved her owner, Alhana Butler. When they learned of her pregnancy, both Alhana and her fiancé Ricky were overjoyed. But Keola began acting weird around her mistress when she was almost 4 months into her pregnancy. Alhana didn't really dig much into her puppy's actions and ignored her. That was until she realized the reasons behind Keola always pawing at her overgrown belly. When Alhana and Ricky met, it was nothing short of love at first sight. They knew that they were meant to be together. And more than that, they wanted to start a family and grow old together. This led them to decide to try for a baby. At first, it felt like their dream would just be a dream, as Alhana failed to conceive. But then one day, they found out that their doubts were wrong. They got the news that they wanted to hear so much. Alhana was finally expecting. Their tiny family was starting to grow, but they both had another baby to keep in mind, Alhana's little furry friend. Keola, Alhana, and Ricky's other family members recognized pretty fast what was going on. The American Akia knew that her mom was pregnant. Although Keola was always a sweet and cuddly furball, seeing her mom in the state she was in made her even more caring and kind. She was always at her mommy's side, tending to her needs in her own way as day by day Alhana's belly swelled up. Instead of her usual outdoor night trips, Keola started preferring relaxing on the couch in the evening with her head rested on her owner's growing belly. But soon, her tender behavior started changing. When Alhana became 4 months pregnant, her dog started acting oddly around her. The usual caring and mushing Keola disappeared and turned into something completely different, whimpering at Alhana's belly. This went on for hours every single day as she kept pawing to the place she had once laid her head on. Once Keola even tried to bury her nose like she wanted to get something out of her mom's belly. But the couple tried to ignore their pup's unusual behavior, only if they knew what their little animal friend was trying to tell them was alarming. Being pregnant truly brought Alhana joy. She was also lucky that she never had any problems to deal with in the first 4 weeks of pregnancy. Everything seemed more than just normal. It was ideal. She and her loving fiancé couldn't wait to meet their bundle of joy. And by the looks of it, everything was going so smoothly that dealing with the rest of the pregnancy period was going to be a piece of cake. But Keola didn't seem as excited anymore and was still acting weird. The couple dismissed her poking at Alhana's belly as just being a phase. If only it was just a phase. It was something a whole lot scarier. Everything was going perfect until Alhana hit her 16th week of pregnancy. She started experiencing sharp and dreadful pains in her lower back. This left her barely able to walk or even talk. As anyone would think in this scenario, Alhana began thinking the worst. Was her baby really okay? Would everything turn out alright? Or would her and Ricky's dream of becoming parents be stripped away from them? Alhana was taken to the hospital quickly. They both prayed that everything would be normal and they would live out their dream of becoming parents. The doctor said that everything looks good and that the pregnancy might be taking a toll on her, so she should go home and rest. The couple returned home, but was their pet correct? Alhana started getting worried as her pain continued. Despite the fact that the doctor told her that everything looked fine, she couldn't help but feel confused. She felt exhausted, but she decided not to bother the doctor again. As time passed, Alhana was slowly starting to see that Keola might be right after all. She had been acting strangely for some time now. Perhaps the canine was really trying to warn her mother of something that was coming. By now, Alhana didn't know what to do at all. Caught between her friends and family pressuring her to see a doctor again, and not wanting to upset her doctor, Alhana was very baffled on what would be the best course of action to take. But someone stepped in and helped her decide to indeed get another checkup, and it was none other than Alhana's mom. Alhana's mom believed that her daughter's fur baby wasn't just acting odd for no reason, so she convinced Alhana that it might not just be a coincidence. But still, Alhana decided to go to work and ignore the pain, until Keola decided to step in her way. The next morning, Alhana, still acting tough, got all dressed up and headed out to work. When she was just by the door, Keola jumped in. She wouldn't let her lady step out, jumping, barricading the door, whining, and doing whatever it took to stop Alhana. Alhana was wondering what had gotten into Keola so early in the morning, and then all of a sudden, she collapsed. Ricky saw what happened and rushed Alhana to the emergency room. Finally, in the hospital, Alhana was given a series of tests to determine if there was a serious underlying cause of her pain, or if it was just pregnancy stress as previously suggested. Alhana was stabilized and she asked for an explanation of what had happened. As they waited for the results, both the couple and Alhana's mom wondered if Keola was right. And she was right indeed. The test results confirmed that the news was not good. In the hospital, Alhana was given a series of tests to determine if there was a serious underlying cause of her pain, or if it was just all pregnancy stress. Alhana's pain was not imagined. It was real. She had a double kidney infection. The pup was right all along, and she wasn't acting weird for no reason. Even though Alhana was scared to death for her unborn child's life, she could be treated and would eventually get well. Alhana's doctor started her treatment as quickly as possible, as the risk was too great if they were to further delay. The medical staff put her on a serious course of antibiotics and advised the necessary care required to prevent further damage to her body and kidneys. After an awful and distressing week, Alhana finished her regimen of strong antibiotics and got loads of rest. Eventually, she got well, being monitored by her doctor the entire time. Thankfully, everything worked out, and both she and the baby were fine. With the infection completely cleared up and all things back to normal, she could finally be relaxed. The couple was so overwhelmed. They finally fulfilled their dreams of becoming parents. And although they went through such a scary time and their dream was almost shattered, there was baby Lincoln, happy and healthy as could be. They couldn't be more grateful for Keola. Keola was at home and hadn't met baby Lincoln yet. Surely the pup would be ecstatic to meet the baby she was trying so hard to protect. Soon enough, the two cute personalities would meet. After spending a few days in the hospital, Ricky and Alhana were so excited to go home. Keola was extremely excited to meet the baby boy. Although Alhana always loved Keola, the past few days had changed her love for her dog into something even more intense. Alhana kept thinking back on how Keola tried to save her so many times and didn't give up trying to protect Alhana, even after she completely dismissed her behavior. Alhana didn't know how to express what she now felt for the little pup, and if she could ever repay her for what she had done for her. From the second Lincoln was brought home, he had gotten a best friend who never left his side. Keola and Lincoln were always together, and it was evident from how they treated each other that they had a connection like no other. It's obvious that the two cute personalities share a special bond and connection. But it's not just their parents and family friends who think that their bond is special. Apparently, someone else also noticed how special Keola was. It's not often that people's pets are nominated for any type of award. In fact, it's not every day that people we know are nominated for an award. We need to accomplish something extraordinary before we are worthy of an award. Keola is certainly worthy of the award she was given. Someone decided that owing to her non-stop caring for her owner, she deserved recognition. Not only did she get to attend the ceremony with Alhana and Ricky and receive an award, but she also got tons of dog treats just like she deserved. Lincoln sure is small, but he surely understands well just how special his bond with his furry friend is, and everyone believes that it will only grow with time into something stronger and deeper. Seeing all these photos, it's hard to even think how things would be if Keola didn't warn her mommy of the condition she was in. But now both baby and mommy are happy and healthy, and their smile says more than words can ever convey. Lincoln is a toddler now and growing up fast, and his parents often think back to the incident that happened and could have claimed the lives of both Lincoln and Alhana. Thinking back, they always find themselves more than just grateful for Keola, and they think it's a blessing their son was saved and is healthy today. Not only is their son well, but he is thriving alongside the amazing caring Keola. What more could they ask for? This story conveys a very strong message to us that if our pets pick up on something, we should listen to it. Sometimes they recognize things we don't even know, and it's best for us to trust their intuition. Dogs can have as high as 50 times the amount of receptors in their body compared to humans, and this makes their sense of smell stronger by nearly a factor of 100,000. But what does this actually mean? This is exactly how Keola picked up on Alhana's illness even before she realized she was suffering from one. There was no way for any human to realize what was happening to Alhana without a medical checkup. Her body chemistry was changing even if no one saw it, but thankfully her loving pup did. This just goes to prove how strong dogs' sense of smell can be. They can detect changes in their bodies even when we can't. Not only can they sense sickness, but another amazing thing is that dogs can even sense pregnancy. Thanks to their amazing sense of smell, they can detect when a woman gets pregnant due to changes in her hormones. Dogs know the usual scent of their owner, but since the biochemistry of the body changes when pregnancy occurs, it alters the behavior of the puppy towards its female owner. Another thing that scientists explain is that dogs don't really know that this change is being caused by pregnancy. They just know that something is different from the norm, and it makes them behave unusually. It's rightly said that dogs are the most loyal friends anyone can have.